In this session, we're going to work on summary statistics. We'll both briefly discuss why summary statistics are useful, and then go over some of the steps of producing them for our own reports. And so quickly, I'll just share my screen, and I'll go over some of the notes that I have. So the first thing that we want to do, and this is sort of recalling from earlier lessons, is reading in data. And whenever we read in new data, we want to take a look at it to make sure we know what we're using. And so for this, I'm going to use the data set called Swiss, which is built into base R, so you should have it available without loading in any package. And before we do that, just a quick note about Markdown documents. We've gone back and forth about using R scripts and Markdown documents. One of the nice things about a Markdown document is that you can produce all of your output in the same window right underneath the code that you're running. And so if I click this little button here, it'll run everything in this code chunk immediately below the chunk. So I do that. And so this, you can see that this says R console, and it's essentially giving you the view that you would have in the R console as you run it. And so I ran.
Can you did that one more time?
Go ahead.
Can you show me how you did that one more time?
So it is this arrow here, the right arrow, or the rightward pointing arrow. And if you highlight it, it'll say run current chunk.
Okay.
Do that. You can also press this and run all chunks above. That's sort of less useful pedagogically. But so what you get is the console view immediately below it. And this is what would print in the console if I was running it in an R script. And so I ran data Swiss to read the data in. I said in row Swiss to see how many rows I have. It's 47. And head gives me the top 6 lines of all of the columns. And so what we can see is that in this data set, we have 6 columns. They all look numeric. We have 47, which is how many provinces there were in Switzerland. I've looked into the background on this data. It's from 1888. It was looking at Switzerland and changes in fertility. And so it has information about the provinces and sort of their cultural and educational attributes to understand why fertility was different across different parts of Switzerland. That backstory doesn't matter too much, but it's sort of worth understanding. And what we want to do today is understand how to produce summary statistics. And the reason that we use summary statistics is because data in and of itself isn't that useful. So if I ran this command, just Swiss and Catholic, which is one of the columns, what it'll give me is the 47 values that are in the data. And so this is all of the data. This is all of the data that we have. But it doesn't really help you to make sense of what the data is telling you just in and of itself. Just being handed a bushel of data doesn't really help you to actually understand how Catholic Switzerland was at this time. You can see that there's a lot of different numbers. They're in no order. And so what we want to use summary statistics for is to actually get a better grasp of the data. It's taking our data, condensing it into a few points. It doesn't tell us everything about every point in the data, but it helps us to get a better grasp of the shape and sort of the spread of our data. And so the way to run summary statistics is to just run summary. And if we want it for one column, we run it for the data set and then the column that we want. So if I run the summary statistics for Catholic, I would run summary and Swiss Catholic. And what the default is going to give me is 6 statistics: the min, the first quartile, the median, the mean, the third quartile, and the max. And this is cutting out a lot of the data that adds to sort of the noise. It gives us a few key points to understand how Catholic Switzerland was in 1888. We can see from the min that in one province, there was only 2% Catholic, a very small amount. Whereas at the other end, on the max, we know that one province was 100% Catholic. And so we know that this data is really spread out. The middle of the data, looking at the mean and the median was 15, which means that the 50th percentile, the very middle of the data, is 15, while the mean is 41. So we can get this sort of feel very quickly to understand that Switzerland was both very Catholic in parts, very un-Catholic in other parts, and that the data is really spread out. That doesn't tell us everything that we would want to know about this question, but it gives us sort of an ability to grasp our data by taking it and condensing it into only a few points. We can also look at the summary statistics for all of our data at the same time for all of the columns. And so if we run the summary command with just the data set, we'll actually get these summary statistics for all of our columns. And we can see that here. We can see for fertility, agriculture, examination, all of them, we have the same 6 statistics comparing them all. This can get dangerous because if you had 100 columns in your data, it would quickly sort of overfill your screen. You wouldn't be able to read it as quickly. But with 6 columns, it's easy enough to digest. You can sort of grasp it and look across them quickly enough. And so you can both use the summary command for all of the columns in your data or just one specifically. This output isn't the easiest to read or the most attractive. And so I want to introduce a new package that can help to make the data a little bit easier to read, and that's with the pander command. And so I can look, if I go back to the bottom right corner, I can look under packages and see whether I have pander installed. And for this computer, I do have it. For if you're doing this for the first time, you'll want to install it first. I have it, so all I need to do is run library in pander. And so I can load the package pander, and I can use this outside of summary as a wrapper, and it's going to produce a more attractive looking summary statistics table, at least in my opinion. So it gives it a little bit more space, a little bit more room, and it's a little bit easier to read. And so I think that pander is really useful when producing tables in Markdown. You'll only use pander if you're writing in a Markdown, but I think it makes the tables look a little bit more professional. So that's the first part. Any questions before we kick it to exercise?
So I tried to load the pander library just by running that code chunk.
Yeah.
And it said error in library pander. There is no package called pander.
Yeah. So so the first time you're using pander, you'll need to make sure that it's installed. And so if you go and look under packages, you'll find that it isn't installed. It's something you have to install. It doesn't come with the base R. And so in order to use it, you're going to have to install it. Do you remember how to install a package?
I remember that we did that.
And I think this is part of the exercise.
Okay.
So I think, Jake, you're going to take it?
Yeah, well, I'm looking at packages right now, and I don't see anything at all.
You have no packages.
No, it doesn't look that way.
Well, so I'll stop sharing my screen. You share your screen, and we'll see what is going on.
Oh, it was install.packages, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Do you see that?
Well, that's weird.
Yeah.
Jake, what did you do?
I don't know. I just tried running the code chunk, and then some stuff happened. I need an adult.
Okay. Donnie, why don't you take this exercise, and between videos, we will figure out what Jake has done.
That sounds good.
Oh, I should stop sharing.
There we go.
Okay, so I am going to share my screen then. And this is the summary stats exercise document or Markdown thing. So let's see. I'll share my screen. Is that showing up?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so then I scroll down here and I see I do not have pander installed. So the first thing I want to do is I want to install package, and that was install.package, right?
Yes.
Packages. Install.packages. And then pander is the way to do that, or I have to put that in quotation marks?
Right, that goes in quotation marks.
Oops. Okay, and then I press enter.
Are those curly brackets?
Oh yeah, they should be parentheses.
Yeah.
Which is pander, and then run. Should I say yes?
Yes.
You don't sound confident.
No, yes, I'm confident.
Okay.
I mean, it's only your computer.
I mean, lazy loading.
I pressed yes. Look where it got me.
There you go. Okay, so now I scroll down. I do see that I have Pander.
Yeah.
And so now what I need to do is load the Pander package. So it was it's not data, right? It's packages, right? So
Library.
library. Okay, library, Pander, like that.
Yeah. So you're
Okay,
missing one thing.
was that?
Are you doing that? So you're writing that in a markdown document, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. So I have to use my little, like this and that, right?
Perfect.
Okay, and then I run my code chunk and I have, did that work?
Yeah, it won't tell you anything.
Okay,
But
so
it should.
now I've installed and loaded the library, and now I need to read in the data set US arrests. So this would be data US arrests. And because I'm in my markdown, I need to put in those things again. And then I run the current chunk and I have gotten my volume. I'm going to click on it, even though you told me that it's not necessary. And now I have it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was all I was supposed to do for that, right?
Right.
Okay, so now I need to do my summary table, and going back to my notes, that was just summary. So I'm going to make my little code chunk area and summary of US arrests. Then I'm going to run that code chunk, and I've got my 4 columns now with various statistical facts about it. And now I want to look at just the assault rate. So now I'm going to do a little R area, and I'm going to do summary of US arrests. But now I'm going to do, it's the dollar sign, right?
Right.
Okay, for assault. And if I run that, then I get just the data for that specific category. So, okay, so was that correct?
Yeah. So what would you do to use Pander in producing the summary table for either of those?
Oh, let me see. What did you do? So you loaded your library and you did a Pander summary. So if I wanted, instead of my regular summary, I might do a little R area. And now you have to do Pander parentheses summary parentheses US arrests. And if I run this, then Pander is going to give me a prettier version.
Perfect.
If I wanted to do the same thing here, really I can just copy and paste this and put this in my Pander parentheses. And run that, and I don't know what it did, but maybe I can, here we go. And now I've got my more attractive version. Sound good?
Perfect. All right, that's it for
Nailed
this
it.
video.
Okay, stop share.